This is the RM Podcast.
Today you are listening to the RM Podcast. I'm Ryan McCarg, the host of the RM Podcast, and today I have a special guest. But before I get into that, I want to say one more thing. It has been months since I released the last episode of the RM Podcast, and that's my fault. I got carried away with a few other hobbies of mine and a lot of side hustles, and my main hustle, which is Every Detail, my company that I run to promote social media in a positive way in my community and throughout the country and the world. Now, this company led me to being accepted into LaunchX about 1 year ago. Now, this program, LaunchX, gave me the ability to go to MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and work with other co-founders, other entrepreneurs my age that are in high school that are looking to really excel their entrepreneurial propensity. One of the people I met there, named Ayotomiwa, one of the most humble human beings I've met on the face of this planet, guys. Now, I'll let him introduce himself some more, and we're gonna go ahead and give him a call now. So keep in mind that he is in another country. How are we doing?
Hello.
Are you there?
Hey Ryan, yeah, I can hear you now.
Awesome. So, I kind of introduced everybody to who you were, how I met you, and I was kind of talking about how humble you were and the first impression I got when I met you. And so I kind of want to just let everybody know, like, what's your story? Like, what is your story?
My story. Okay, so that's a bit of a tricky one to narrate, but I guess basic things first is like a young person is looking to have an impact on the world. Like, I think that's one of the main things that defines me. I'm trying to contribute. I was born and raised in Nigeria, went to primary and secondary school in Nigeria, and now I'm currently in South Africa, actually, at African Leadership Academy. Yeah, and then, okay, what else would you like me to go specific on?
Really your mission, you came to LaunchX and it's promoting entrepreneurship. So like, what's your why behind your interest in entrepreneurship, stuff like that?
Oh yeah, okay, I think that's much easier to handle.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I think the main thing where I really sort of like started like getting into this idea of entrepreneurship. So it wasn't like hearing about entrepreneurship and it being this cool thing and like me wanting to get on board. Mm-hmm. But initially it was just like me and my like former school. And basically I found out that like there were these sweets that were sold near my home, which were basically cost like 20 naira. That's like the Nigerian currency.
Okay.
And I figured I could sell them for like 50 or 100 naira at my school. And I was like, wow, this is such an opportunity, right? Uh-huh. And then this was like just getting an idea and being like, this could be something that's like profitable and like could actually like become something. And like that was like really my first interaction. Then I went on and like had like different experiences. There's a junior achievement. I don't know if you've heard of this program before. It's called junior achievement, where you start like a mock company like within like your school and basically try and like.
Yeah, I think I've heard a little bit about it when I was doing like research a few years ago on like trying to find programs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I had that experience as well. So that was something that also got me more into this whole idea of like entrepreneurship and like, and I think like the thing about entrepreneurship for me is just really just adding value and like providing something of value. And I think that's what like attracts me, like that opportunity to be able to like contribute. From then on, like there've then been like even more experiences like with me writing and selling a book. This was 2 summers ago. And then I came to ALA, where basically I'm literally even taking a class called Entrepreneurial Leadership, which is like entrepreneurship and leadership combined and like merged in a very interesting way. And like even from then on, then there was LaunchX, which was a great opportunity actually. And I met you, I met lots of amazing people there. So like that's sort of been my like interaction with entrepreneurship over the years. And I guess some other stuff I've also left out, I guess.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I find it really interesting that your, entrepreneurial journey started from education, which is really
Mm,
cool because we hear, a lot of times at my school, everybody's complaining about, oh, it's too hard, it's not easy enough,
mm,
and then we have people like you and I, where we're like, you know what, I don't care what the system is set up to be. We're gonna take
mm,
advantage. We're gonna find the gaps, and we're gonna fill those gaps with our value and stuff. So
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and education. What are your opinions of like how on a global standpoint, or even where you live compared to where I live, about how the
Yeah.
schooling system is currently set up?
Mm. That's interesting. I guess like well, I guess I could sort of tackle them independently. Like if we look at entrepreneurship in general, and I think especially for like young people,
Hmm.
um, I think like there's like sort of advantages and disadvantages to it. I think your typical entrepreneur is like someone with an idea that's outside of the norm, and it's hard to take like a regular, let's say, older entrepreneur seriously. But then even as a young person, it's like even an extra challenge. Being able to be like courageous and daring to say you want to like realize this idea or this business or this concept that you have. I think that's like makes it more tricky for like younger people like us.
Right.
I think that's, but then an advantage to it as well, I think, is like you have lots of time to like sort of try out things and like, I mean, I guess you like don't have like a family to support or like,
Right.
like if things don't go fine, like you can still like life goes on. I think that's like a major advantage as well. Like I think it can give you sort of more courage and like more like ability to like dare whatever the like
Hmm.
norms are, or the standards are, and like,
Right.
this is what I want to do. I'm gonna go for it like full on.
All right, right, right. Yeah, see, like I was saying right before, you find the benefits, the positives out of it, and that's what, makes you a humble person.
Mm,
Um, it's really about not just diving into school, like going into high school, and I think it really starts with parenting. A lot of parents I see will say, you go to high school, just get good grades, and you'll enjoy the process of the whole experience. But I feel like there's something more for a lot of us, if you know what I mean. So let's
yeah.
kind of take a step back. Like, where or who did you get all of this passion from?
Oh, my passion?
Yes.
Wow. Oof. Um, I really don't know how to like answer that question. I don't think there was like one specific like
Okay.
spark. I
Okay.
think it really started for me like roughly like I don't even know, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, in like what would be like the US equivalent of like grade 10.
Okay.
And like I had like been doing well in like academics and stuff and like
Mhm.
schoolwork, the typical kind of stuff. So I'm
Okay.
doing well on activities as well. And when I say activities, I mean like I was involved in sports. I was
Uh-huh.
like captain of the soccer team at my school, those kind of
Awesome.
things. Like
Yeah.
life was good in that sense, but
Mhm.
like I was then like I don't know, it's weird. I was sort of thinking of like what's a deeper cause, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
just like striving for like accolades or like achievements, like academic achievements, etc. Like
Yeah.
that's not even necessarily like having an impact on those around me. Like that's just like sort of selfish in a certain sense. Like that's the
Okay.
way I saw it. And I was like, how can I then, be more impactful and like contribute something and like have
Yeah.
like meaningful impact? And like I sort of like started thinking about it around then. And like I'm like sort of like a naturally driven person. So when I
Mhm.
sort of stumbled on this idea of like giving more, or giving back sort of like
Okay.
then that's what like drove me more and like I got more into entrepreneurship in general.
Okay, yeah, and like one of the things that came out of this passion, I remember in the dorm rooms at Leslie University, I was like, everybody's got their thing, right? Like everybody has there's this one special thing that everybody brought to the table, whether it was a company or an object. And when I was talking to you, I was like, yo, your face is on the on the face of this book in your room. And I was like walking in there, I was like, yo, your face is on there. You write this book? And you're like, yeah, I wrote it. I'm like, all right, I'll buy it off you. And so I bought the book, you know, and I read through it and stuff, and so like, can you tell us a little bit about like the story behind it and why you think people should read the book?
Hmm. It's so the way I actually started with this book is it's quite interesting because like I think like it then sort of circles back to this idea of contributing an impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So back in my old school, I was like basically like gauging like the student body. I was like I was the chairman of the student government, basically, my old school. And like one thing I was starting to realize, like people were very ignorant. It was actually quite interesting. There was this day I was in the supermarket, and like I had signed up for like this hepatitis, World Hepatitis Day, non-profit movement kind of thing. I actually don't remember the details right now. But the interesting thing was World Hepatitis Day, and like on the radio, I heard the person say it was World Hamburger Day. And I was like, what? Like, okay, wait, this is interesting. Like, 96% of people who have hepatitis don't know, but we're here celebrating World Hamburger Day. Like, this is very interesting.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I started writing articles at my school. Like, literally, I would just like write an article and like put it on like the notice board about like different things, like I sort of felt people needed to know. And like, well, the way I judged what people needed to know was what was something I needed to know that I didn't know, that kind of way.
Okay.
And like I started writing, and it was quite interesting because at first, like I'm not a writer or anything. I don't think I'm like some person who's like great at English, for example, or like creative writing. I like English was probably one of my worst classes in school. But it was this idea of like, okay, I need to like sort of like help and educate like the student body at my school. And like initially when I wrote these articles, it took lots of courage because like I was like, oh, like what if no one cares, you know? And then I started doing trivias and that kind of thing, and like that was how I sort of got like the initial like I don't want to let me pass like initial experience. Then after graduation in like June, I like from my previous school, I had like literally like 3-4 months on my hand before like I resumed here at like ALA African Leadership Academy. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I still had this whole idea of like contributing, right? And I was like, I think this was like quite an interesting dilemma for me. Like a major like issue with me writing my book was like, I was like, okay, I know I'm not like the smartest person, like in students in Nigeria, for example, or like the smarter person who was graduating that year. I was like, I don't know if I'm qualified to like tell people what to do. You know, it's sort of like I don't want to seem like proud or like
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's the word. Like, I don't want to seem proud. Like, oh, I know so much. Let me tell you what to do.
Right.
But then
Yeah.
at the same time, I had to balance it with this like responsibility of like, hey, I actually know very valuable stuff that would really help a lot of people. And like in that sense, it would then be selfish for me not to share.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like I was like, okay, I actually have to like help people because I can't help people, and like it's sort of my responsibility.
Right.
And I just sort of started writing for like 2-3 months, and then like got it published that summer. It was quite an interesting summer actually.
So it took you 2 to 3 months to write the whole entire book?
Yeah, it was like every day, like probably 7-8 hours, just like
That is just so cool. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah. My gosh, dude. Yeah, that's amazing. Like that, like it's like these stories, right? Okay, so the title of his book was it's Achieving Balanced Success, The Way Forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the website and stuff. It also says like, you know, it gives a backstory of you. It's talking about, and I see that like you're super transparent, right? Like when I'm talking to you right here, and then I go on your site, and then when I talk to you in person, it's the same person, right? And that's just like that's amazing because like you know, I go on Instagram, and it's always people displaying something that they don't actually have or desire to have, but they just want so much attention that they will provide value that is, for one, their value that they're looking for themselves, and value that isn't necessarily helping anyone. And you know, you said that you had this knowledge at the time, but you didn't want to sound like a know-it-all.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in our generation can sound like they are a know-it-all because that's a stereotype. But when you have that knowledge and you want to share it because you feel like that's actually going to help someone, that's just amazing. That's being humble and selfless and stuff. So
Yeah, thanks.
for sure, yeah. And another thing is like, we all have plans. A lot of my friends, they know what I want to do. But so, what are your plans after high school?
Oh, my plans after high school. This is an interesting one. So right now I'm like have like what 2 months to 2 3 months, about 3 months, 2 to 3 months to graduate from ALA. I'll be resuming at like University of Pennsylvania in
Awesome.
this August, I guess. I'll be studying like in the Jerome Fisher Management and Technology program. So I'd probably be concentrating in finance on the business side, and probably be doing a systems on the engineering side. But like in terms of like my bigger plans, in terms of like beyond like college and like transcending that, I think what I'm sort of looking to right now is like I want to, start more things that can like help people and influence people. Like
Okay.
for example, like since like I have like less of a workload now, I'm sort of working on this thing called Kufania Project, which I'm starting with a friend here at ALA. And basically, what we're just doing is like sharing stories of like cool projects that people have done on our campus, like in terms of like youth in general. Actually, we're going to spread beyond our campus, but so far it's in our campus, and it's about youth in general and the cool projects they've done. Like so, basically having conversations with people about how they're able to start their businesses, projects, organizations, etc. I'm kicking off with that, so it's what I'm currently working on. But like as for the future, generally just my mission is. I don't think my mission is not going to change. I'm always going to be trying to contribute, always going to be trying to add value. And I think like in whatever way like opportunity presents itself, then like I'm going to be able to like latch on to that. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so I mean, I know you're a really humble guy, and you mentioned that you're careful when spreading certain advice, but do you have like any last words for advice to anybody our age, anybody older, anybody younger than us?
Who's like sort of trying to go into entrepreneurship, you mean, right?
Yeah, anything really, anything about being a human being and joining entrepreneurship, that kind of stuff.
Hmm. I don't know. So I think one main thing is courage. I never used to think of myself as really like a courageous person, but like, I once saw this like quote, like courage is like action in spite of fear. So it's not like the absence of fear, but like it's still taking action even though you're scared or like confused or things seem hard or challenging. And it's like that like ability to take action. I think that's one main thing that people should like definitely look out for. I think another thing is just like the idea of just trying to contribute and add value, try and solve a problem that like affects you or like that you're passionate about or that you care about, like trying to just address a problem or solve a need. Like I think like because like I think one thing is like I would have been able to write my book if I wasn't always thinking about the people that would get helped by it. Like there's no way I was going to spend like 6 hours every day during the holiday writing a book.
Right. Yeah.
The meaning behind it. Yeah. So and I think like, and I know this must be similar for you as well because before you as well must have started like any of these, you're like companies, businesses, or anything like that. It's always about like how you're adding value and how you're contributing, and like that's what really keeps us going.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have very similar mindsets in the whole problem solving thing. So
yeah,
it's
really.
yeah, and that's what I liked about the whole LaunchX program. Not necessarily what we were doing, but the general mindset of all of us communicating with each other, and we're all pretty much in communication still. I mean, we have this podcast going on.
It's quite amazing.
Right, yeah. So like if any of you are in high school, if you're in college, if you don't know what you want yet, you don't have that mission, and you don't really understand this world you're going into, just remember, take action in spite of fear. if you do nothing, nothing's going to happen for you. No one's going to just bring you something. You have to get out there. You have to talk with people. So I think this is probably one of the best podcasts that I've ever had, and I'm so glad. I can't wait to, re-listen to it. It's been great, my man. Everybody go check out his website. It is the www.absuccess.ml. You get to know a little bit more about Ayotomiwa and his book. It's been awesome, my man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ryan, and good luck to everyone.
For sure. Bye. Guys, as you heard, we just did our podcast with Ayotomiwa. That was amazing. I'm very humbled by everything he has to say. He's a friend of mine. As you heard him say, take action in spite of fear. We hear that, but nobody actually interprets it and uses it in their daily tasks. If you have a job, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a student, and you fear a test coming up, you fear your boss, you fear having a meeting with your boss, you're fearing presenting in front of a large company with a bunch of old white dudes in the room, and you're scared they're going to judge you based on your last name or how you look. The market doesn't care. You just got to present something to the market that's of value. Like Ayotomiwa said, he just wants to provide value. That's his mission. You guys need to share a mindset kind of like that one and keep it going. Keep it rocking. This was the RM Podcast. Thank you for listening.
This is the RM Podcast.